Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a very off-the-cuff video talking about the brand new Vaillant aroTHERM Pro range. It's been out online for a while and I see lots of people talking about it, and last week I managed to get a behind the scenes look with Vaillant to understand exactly what the product is and what it's going to mean for the UK housing market going forward. It's a pretty cool product. There are some good things, there are some bad things, but overall I think what Vaillant are trying to do with this new system is very good. This video is going to be very basic. I'm recording it literally in my office, but the whole plan of this is just to get it out as soon as we can, because I know people are eager to know about how the unit works and what it will bring to you. With that said, let's get right into the brand new Vaillant aroTHERM Pro. Right, so first things first, I've got my bit of paper here. The unit is completely different looking to the aroTHERM Plus. The aroTHERM Plus, if you look at it, is white with kind of a grey circle bit where the fan is. The anthracite grey is now completely on the aroTHERM Pro. So it's completely grey. It really blends into modern houses. If you have like cladding or decking, it will really suit it well. One thing to note, which we will cover later on, is the aroTHERM Plus is slowly moving to have that as well. When that will happen is probably late June, early July, possibly later in the year. But ultimately, Vaillant are trying to have their whole range as that same anthracite grey, which is great because I think it looks better than the white outside the house. Next is the range. So on the aroTHERM Plus, you have the 3.5, the 5, the 7, the 10, and the 12 kilowatt units. Each one of those varies in size in terms of height as they go up, the 12 being the tallest, the 3.5 being the shortest. And the footprint, like the left and right, or the width and depth of the unit, stays the same, which has always been really good for us installers because we're able to comfortably go, this unit will fit regardless of what size we have. The dimensions have changed slightly, which I will overlay onto the screen in just a moment. They do change with different units as well, which is different to what the different to what the Plus had, but overall I think that's a good thing, because what's also really good about the Pro is that they're all single fan units, which is a godsend. If you've ever worked on a 10 or 12 kilowatt Vaillant, not only are they extremely heavy, they're just massive. See, when you put them outside a house and you see them in situ and you see how much space they're taking up, you just think there's loads of other heat pumps on the market that are single fan. So Vaillant have finally managed to cure this. So with that in mind, the range for the Pro is slightly different. You have the 5, the 7, and then later in the year you've got the 11. So there's no 3.5 and there's no 10, but the 11 is a single fan unit, which means it's smaller and therefore the space is needed for the restriction zone is less, which we'll come on to. But overall, it's a much neater unit. And again, they're all anthracite grey. One of the things I'm not totally in love with on the Pro is the fact that it's called the Pro. Vaillant have always had this thing with their boiler range where they have the Ecotech Plus and the Ecotech Pro, the Plus being the better product, the Pro being the kind of baby brother, if you like, of it. They're doing the same with the heat pumps, but I'm already seeing confusion because although the Pro does have better features right now, the Plus is still pitched as a technically better product in many ways. At least that's how I understand it. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I do think there's a little bit of confusion with us installers as to what it is. Ultimately, there are bigger changes than just the unit sizes though, but the main thing is the range has changed. And the top line range is a single fan, which is fantastic for us installers and for homeowners alike, where they don't want a massive outdoor unit in their garden. The next thing that's really interesting about the aroTHERM Pro is that it's a specification product. And that essentially means it's been designed with a specific, I guess, market in mind. And that market is new build and social housing. It's been designed that way because I guess that market doesn't want massive heat pumps. It doesn't need massive heat pumps, both in terms of output and in physical size in the garden. But also the restriction zone for the R290 has been probably a bit of a headache for developers, because most new builds nowadays, they aren't massive, but they do have a lot of windows and doors. So you do find that the restriction zone does cause the placement of an outdoor unit to be quite difficult. Even for us on like an older house where there's big gaps between windows or doors, you can still find that that's an issue. But the overarching thing really is the aroTHERM Pro is not designed technically on a Vaillant standpoint for the Joe Blogs household market. It's designed for the new build and the social housing market, which is fine. There are things that do make it a little bit less attractive to other installers, which we'll come on to because of that. But I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to have a smaller heat pump. New builds have a massive market, so I can see what they're trying to do. With it being a specification product, the warranty is a big contentious issue. So the warranty is only 2 years, parts and labor, which for Vaillant is very low, which is disappointing to be honest with you, because it's such a good product. I don't understand why they've limited to 2 years. It's a shame. The aroTHERM Plus has 7 years, so it's 5 years less, and the cost difference isn't that much. So it is a bit of an iffy one. We will come on to more of that later though. There are kind of an uptake on that, so you don't have to be too worried if you are willing to go down a slightly different install route, which we'll come on to. But overall, I do think that the warranty is a bit of a kicker. I don't like the fact it has 2 years. I can't remember the last time any other brand had 2 years workmanship and parts labor warranty out the box. So it's a bit of a shame, but that's what Vaillant are trying to do, and that's all we can really abide by, unfortunately. The next thing though is very exciting. So Vaillant have finally cracked the code when it comes to the R290 restriction zone, and that's with FSF. Now FSF stands for Flexible Space Function. So it's a very fancy way of saying the restriction zone can be reduced dramatically. Now to save going into massive detail, I'll just overlay some images while I talk here. But essentially, as we look at the aroTHERM Plus, the restriction zone is enormous. It is absolutely massive, and particularly on the 10 and 12 kilowatt range, because they're so tall, the restriction zone just comes out at such a big distance. So as I said before, the problem with that is that you can't actually then locate the unit in many, many places. 9 times out of 10, when we go see a customer's house, they have an ideal location in mind. They have a dream heat pump location. I can probably count on one hand how many times it's been possible to put it there due to the restrictions that are met with R290 and or other things. But the R290 restriction zone is a big issue. The aroTHERM Pro does have a significantly smaller restriction zone. So what they kind of do is they've reduced it generally because the unit's shorter and smaller. It's not as big, but the FSF function, it reduces it basically to the footprint of the unit. So essentially from the bottom of the heat pump, not from the ground level, but from the bottom of the heat pump when it's on its clearances of 150 millimeters from the ground, you've got 100 millimeters up from the bottom of the heat pump is where the restriction zone ends. So essentially that 100 mil is within the restriction zone, and above that it ends. And then you've got the full footprint of the outdoor unit and the full kind of actual area it sits on. And then you've got the area behind it as well. Now that is a game changer for what we can do, where we can put it. Because if you're putting it right next to a door or window with FSF activated, provided you don't have a low level window or something else restricting it from behind, you can locate it there. The way FSF works is once it's activated, the restriction zone reduces. Now it doesn't do that by not working as hard or changing the amount the compressor spins or anything like that. It does it by, in the heat pump's off state, so when it's in off, not doing anything on heating and or hot water, the fan on the outside unit spins at a very, very, very low RPM. And the reason why it does that is if there were to be a refrigerant leak, the fan will move the air and then move the refrigerant out of the zone that could become an issue, which is fantastic. Now, what I have been told is that the fan, when it's running by Vaillant, and we don't have any specific numbers yet, is that it will draw in FSF function 15 kilowatt hours per year, which is a little bit over £3. So it's not a big deal. And if it means you can have the heat pump closer to the house, reducing the pipe work needed, reducing potentially bases that you need, all this kind of stuff, that 3-4 quid, whatever it may be additional to have that function activated, is completely negligible, and it makes total sense. So big thumbs up from me towards Vaillant for that one. Massive help towards helping heat pumps roll out into the industry. Next, we're moving on to technical details that are different between the Pro and the Plus. So the Plus ran on eBus. Now eBus is a low voltage communication method between the outdoor unit and the thermostats and the heat pump controller. eBus was fine for the Plus, but what Vaillant were finding was that the eBus wasn't quick enough to relay data to and from the components. So what they've done is they've changed the eBus to only run on certain components, and now they have a communication cable going directly to the heat pump module, which allows for much faster data transfer, and allows for heat pumps to be able to modulate and adjust their settings and the parameters and these communication things that are really important to making it work really efficiently very fast, which is a big thumbs up. So that's a big growth plan. Moving on from that, we have some other key differences, and we have self-calibrating sensors in the Pro's outdoor unit, and that means that they just self-adjust all the time to make sure that they're always calibrated correctly with the temperatures that they're within, which is great. Any more accuracy that we can get, the better for heat pumps. It's got limp mode. So limp mode is kind of like a car. If your car has an engine management light on, it will sometimes go into a limp mode, which will still allow the car to work, but at a kind of reduced rate. And that's the whole idea with the heat pump as well. Some fault conditions will allow the heat pump to work just enough to deliver small amounts of heat and maintain a comfortable home. Next, we have the updated heat pump interface. Now, this is a godsend. I don't know how many times I have hated moving away from Daikin, which has, to be fair, very good controls for the thermostat and the heat pump interface, to Vaillant's terrible heat pump interface that they had. It was just awful. You couldn't see any settings quickly. You had to flick through the activity log. You had to flick through the monitoring. It was just such a headache to see anything quickly. Now, I've not used one on site yet, but I did have an opportunity to use one in demo mode, and what I have seen is really great. You've got like a modernized, sleek interface, which I'll try and put a picture on the screen now. It's all touchscreen like the thermostat, the Senso Comfort is, and it allows you to see loads of parameters, loads of settings simultaneously. So you don't have to look at the flow temperature or the return temperature, then the refrigerant. You can see it all as one, which is something that I really missed from Daikin units. I found Daikin such a good brand for giving us way too much information. You would go on the sensor information of a Daikin unit and you'd have everything you could possibly want to diagnose or see what the heat pump's doing or understand what it's trying to do. Then I went to Vaillant and it was like going back in time. Like, you saw nothing. So I'm super pumped about seeing that in there. And not only for us installers being able to commission and set up the system quickly and easier, but also for the homeowner. You know, if we have issues that we want to diagnose over the phone, trying to teach them how to use that old heat pump interface over the phone, it's just a non-starter. It's impossible. So unless you had FaceTime or whatever, then even then it's just difficult. So big thumbs up. What's also cool is that it is coming out on the aroTHERM Plus in due course. So that is changing over as well. On that note, I don't think FSF is going to the aroTHERM Plus. As far as I'm aware, I can't fully remember, I don't think it is. Limp mode and eBus, I'm not sure if they're changing either, but we'll see. And Vaillant have a tendency of changing most things at once. So the thermostat is changing, so maybe everything else will move. But as of right now, I can't confirm or deny if that's actually going to happen. And finally, which is kind of a cool thing, but not that major, it now comes with a skirt. So what you can do is when the installer is installing your heat pump, you can request for shorter feet. I think they're 450 millimeter long feet from memory, or 400 millimeters I was told. So it allows the feet to be within the unit, and that allows there to be a little skirt that goes on. I'll put an image on above. A little skirt that goes on to hide all of the feet and keep it nice and neat. Almost like it's one piece. So another big win from Vaillant, keeping things tidy. And from the video I've seen of installing the skirt, it doesn't look like one of these manufacturer things that are going to be a headache. They look like they're quite a good product, well thought out and easy to use. So again, another push towards making heat pumps look sexier, because ultimately no one really cares about a heat pump looking good, but Vaillant are really trying to do that, which ultimately will help the market move, which is a big plus for getting off fossil fuels. So with that in mind, what is the aroTHERM Pro actually for? So if we were to go and buy one today, from what I've been told, it would be significantly higher cost than if a home builder were going to go and buy it, because they're, I guess, buying in volume, and I guess it suits their market better, which is a bit of a shame. I also think the warranty sucks. I think 2 years parts and labor is just not good enough. I think in this market, in this day and age, we should be building stuff that's able to offer a better warranty, regardless of the market. It just sucks. So Vaillant, if you're watching, please upgrade that to 7 years. It just makes no sense to have it below that unless there's some kind of commercial agreement or something. But I think that is a poor choice. I think that really reduces the market. What it also does is it forces the aroTHERM Plus to be the same product as the Pro in many ways. You know, the limp mode, the self-calibrating sensors, the FSF, the skirt, the color, the single fans, all of these things it has to become, otherwise you're really, really reducing the market, because you've still got these same issues, particularly the restriction zone on the aroTHERM Plus that we don't have on the Pro. So for me, it's a good product. There's a lot of things out there that are really, really cool, and it's great to see that Vaillant are introducing these things. There's no doubt about it that down the line these things will start to filter through and become a little bit more prominent with newer models that come out. But right now, unfortunately, you can't really get one, which is a shame. However, there is a way that you might be able to get one that might just interest you. All right, so before I say any of this, I'm not being paid to say any of this. I've done this review off my own back, but I do think it's important for everyone to know that this side of the aroTHERM Pro is available. Let's get right into it. So the aroTHERM Pro is a specification product, only available through new builds. Or maybe it's not. Maybe HeatGeek do have an answer to this. So you may or may not have heard of HeatGeek, but essentially they are the #2 market share installation company in the UK right now, and they have a tool called Zero Disrupt, which allows us to come into a home, scan a house, and ultimately deliver a very, very accurate proposal for a heat pump system, which has a guaranteed overall efficiency. So we'll cover this in a bigger video because there's a lot more to digest than just look at Zero Disrupt. What Zero Disrupt can do is offer the aroTHERM Pro through its software, which is a big one for me. One of the things that's really, really, really cool about this is that with HeatGeek, you can get a 5-year warranty. Not 2, but 5 years, which is not 7, but it's closer to 7 than it is from 2. So I think what we're trying to say here is Zero Disrupt is probably the only way that you can have a heat pump installed from this range right now. There is no changes coming out to allow anyone else to really offer this competitively. No one else can offer the warranty. It's a big, big thing. So what we're trying to do now is work with HeatGeek to move a lot of our customers towards the Pro, if applicable. The Plus isn't always the right thing to use. The Pro isn't always the right thing to use either. Bearing in mind, right now you cannot get the 11 kilowatt Pro. It's only the 5 and the 7. The Pro from the 11 range is probably likely to come out end of June, start of July, maybe later. But right now, if you wanted an aroTHERM Pro for your house, the only way to get it, and quickly, is by reaching out to a HeatGeek. Now we are of course HeatGeek certified. We're on the east coast of Scotland, just south of St Andrews, so we cover a massive area, you know, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Aberdeen, Perth, Kinross, you name it. We're all over the place. But with us and HeatGeek combined, we can deliver a very, very accurate proposal using their tooling, and off the back of that, we can create a very nice looking installation. And I'll overlay some photos now of our recent installs, just to kind of show you the quality of what we represent. So it's a really cool thing. aroTHERM Pro is available right now if you want a HeatGeek installer to use it, and that's across the country, not just with us. So the aroTHERM Pro in a nutshell, it's a very good step forward in the Vaillant portfolio of what we're trying to offer in homes. They have really taken feedback seriously. I do believe that we're moving forward in terms of the restriction zone. The Pro you can't really get unless you want to go through HeatGeek, or if you're fortunate enough to have a new build that's having one fitted. If you do want one as a customer, you're going to have to really reach out to HeatGeek, and bear in mind the 5 and the 7 kilowatt range is only available right now. The 11 kilowatt will be available later, and after that you're onto the Plus for the 12, which is a different unit, different height, different many things as we've worked out. But the biggest thing that we're going to be doing right now is moving towards a much broader market of heat pumps. If you have a home that has lots of windows and doors, the Pro through HeatGeek might be the way for you.